makes the world go round, the world go round, the world go round. Money makes the world go round, of that we both are sure.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. First of all, I would like to thank everybody who sent me nice birthday wishes. Thank you so much. They are much appreciated. And without further ado, I will now plunge right in, as I have a lot of ground to cover and a busy day ahead of me. So, Katie Fulton says, Lady C and the fur babies, hello my beauties from America and a mum of 3 furry babies. Woof, woof. Why doesn't the palace just put out a statement about no connections with the Sussexes and their work and travels? Plus, what are your bongo drums saying about the real reason they are going to Colombia? My goodness, I think I'm getting a parched throat. I need to get some Coke. I'm back. But I'm very curious why this particular trip. Is it for security and to care and bend King Charles, to pay for their security? I think something is going to be attempted myself. What do you know, milady? I know that there are rumours going around that the palace has colluded with this trip and that they have sent security. It's not true. They have not colluded with the trip. They have not sent security. And in fact, there are serious concerns about the direction that Meghan and Harry have been heading in as they set about creating a rival court, not an alternative court, a rival court to that of the King and Queen and Prince and Princess of Wales. I think it's really very simple. Meghan and Harry enjoy the attention, Meghan especially. Harry enjoys it, but Meghan lusts after it. She is addicted to it. She needs it. Well, you can't really blame her if you stop to think of it. I mean, this is a girl who gave up a great career to marry a prince. And look at what she sacrificed to saddle herself with this prince. Well, she needs her rewards. That's one aspect of it. That's really the main aspect of it. I don't know if you notice, but Meghan has turned standard precedence and protocol on its head. But we're going to get to that in a little while. This is the Megsy Baby show. And she has another race baiter who is colluding with her in the form of Francia Marquez. Now, Francia Marquez might have some motivation and some justification for her feelings, but Meghan has none. As Chris Rock said, Meghan won the fair-skinned lottery and she passed for white for most of her life. But they are both using their African descent. Francia Marquez to improve her reputation internationally, if not nationally, because they're so unpopular in Colombia, that the government, that I don't think there's anything she can do. But she's going to play to the 6.8% of the Colombians who are African descent. Meghan, she's playing to the world. She needs an audience. She is an actress. Mr. DeMille, I am ready for my close-up. I hope that answers the question. And we're not going to belabor the point because we have a lot of ground to cover today. PGR says, Lady C, what do you make of Harry's speech in Colombia? That, and quotes, as long as people are allowed to spread lies, abuse, harass, then social cohesion as we know it has completely broken down. This spoken by one of the two, I should say one of the duo. I was going to say one of the two something else, but I'll just stick to one of the duo, who the Sussex squad represent. The lies they have spread about his family, the way they have set up her family. I mean, come on, it's a joke. But let's take it as if it were serious. First of all, Harry is so brain dead, he doesn't even appreciate the total illogicality of what he has said. As long as people are allowed to spread lies, abuse, harass, then social cohesion as we know it has completely broken down. Well, first of all, social cohesion as we know it cannot have broken down completely, otherwise it wouldn't be social cohesion. That's the first contradiction. The second contradiction is to spread lies, abuse, and harass. I think Harry and Meghan are trying to be speaking about themselves, but let's act as if they're not speaking about themselves. Is it reasonable to expect, much less demand, a guarantee that opinion or news is invariably accurate? I mean, that doesn't make sense. How practical is it to have regulators allowing only what they deem to be accurate news to be pervaded and promulgated? Think about it for a second. The process of deciding what was accurate, etc., would require regulators who would have to examine each and every comment, news story, and claim before it was broadcast or published. The process would be extremely slow in a day when you have 24/7 rolling news. It would be arduous. It would be fraught with subjectivity. That is the totalitarian's dream scenario, to control at the source of news what is conveyed to the public. Harry is trading on the unrest in Southport to further his and Meghan's censorship agenda. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, sorry. Oh. My little piggy has decided that it wants to rest in my tummy. It thinks that I need to expand my horizons and take a leaf out of other people's book. Harry said, and I'm going to quote, "What happens online within a matter of minutes transfers to the streets." Well, that again is an exaggeration. And the cynical misuse of Southport is, aside from anything else, considering the death of 3 young children and the injury to other people, it is so grossly, disgustingly opportunistic. However, let me continue. People are acting on information that isn't true. It comes down to all of us to be able to spot the true from the fake. Well, there he's right. It is up to each of us to distill information and exercise our judgment and decide what is true and what isn't true. And it should not be a knee-jerk thing. And I don't know if you've noticed, I do not knee-jerk with things. I wait until I know what I'm talking about before I open up my mouth. However, he then continues to shoot himself in the foot without even realizing that he has been inadvertently reasonable. In an ideal world, those with positions of influence would take more responsibility. We are no longer debating facts. Harry, stupid boy, you're not debating facts either. You are debating opinion. And with rolling news, there is inevitably going to be inaccuracies and there is going to be misinformation, which should then be put right. That is why we have laws governing our demeanor and our conduct. Harry totally misses the point. Where Southport is concerned, but he had capitalized upon this tragedy in much the same way that Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up, went and crashed in on Uvalde. It's the authorities who are to blame for failing to convey accurate information about what happened, when it happened, in a timely manner. By withholding information, they gave the strong and definite message that they were withholding information because it was of a volatile nature and that there were elements that could be incendiary and possibly racist. And sure enough, it turned out that the message was delivered, albeit in a garbled manner. Where you have a vacuum, it's a law of physics. Mass moves into vacuum. And where you have a tremendously incendiary incident that has taken place, it is the responsibility of the authorities to provide accurate information as quickly as possible. And any failure on their part to do otherwise means that they carry the large proportion of the responsibility for the misunderstandings that arise thereafter. It couldn't be simpler. Anybody with a brain in their head and logic determining their way of thinking, as opposed to anything else, will understand that you do not, in an incendiary situation and a great tragedy such as took place, withhold information. Why were they withholding the information? Because they knew that the identity of the culprit would create waves. And, of course, it got out. Well, it got out, but it got out in a misshapen way. Who's to blame? my understanding of people whose responsibilities are to protect the public is that they have a duty to provide accurate information as quickly as possible. Then, of course, Meghan. I mean, that woman is so pathetic. She's so crass. She's so vulgar. As Nikki Haslam loves the word common, and normally I absolutely loathe it, but she's so common. She makes vulgarity seem like an elevated form of good taste. She is so vulgar. She hopped on the bandwagon. Of course, she was going to, because this is a woman that never misses an opportunity to open up her mouth and provide us with oral flatuses. And she asserted that everyone, notice everyone, and therefore if everyone has, and she said, everyone had either fallen victim to cyberbullying or knew someone who had suffered from it. And she noted that such behavior was not restricted to those from certain backgrounds or segments of society. And I'm quoting her now. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter who you are. Either you personally or someone you know is a victim to what's happening online. And that's something we can actively work on every day to remedy. We should model how we want our kids to be raised and for the world in which we raise them. Well, that word salad is so ridiculous as to be not even noteworthy, except that it came out of her her mouth. And since it is in the public domain, I am duty bound to address it. First of all, if everybody is a victim of cyberbullying or knows somebody who has suffered, that means it's so widespread that it is a societal thing. And therefore, since social order by and large has not broken down, on the contrary, the internet has been one of the greatest sources of knowledge to people who wouldn't otherwise have the ability to obtain knowledge. And therefore, it is something to be encouraged, not discouraged, the promulgation of knowledge on the internet. That does not mean that I agree with bullying in any way, shape, or form. I don't. I believe in rational discourse and the presentation of knowledge and of fact and of opinion that is based in principles that are defensible according to rationality. However, her solution is that they, Harry and Meghan, he, an admitted drug-addled imbecile, and she, an aspirant who has clawed her way up the ladder horizontally. They are now going to be telling us what we should say and do. I don't think so. I don't think so. There are already plenty of laws in place to deal with any breaches, whether it be on the internet or off the internet. The Starmer government is proving this every day. The celerity and the exactitude with which they have been quick to go after certain elements of the population. And as I said the other day, I have nothing against the stern application of the law, but it must be even-handed. And we certainly don't need Meghan Markle, who is the living embodiment of everything that anybody who, in my opinion, respects decency would regard as the absolute embodiment of something to avoid. She is the absolute exemplar of what you should not be. She is setting herself up as if they have a right to interfere with our access to knowledge. It's unbelievable. She says we should model how we want our kids to be raised and for the world in which we raise them. The world, by and large, Meghan and Harry, is, if you stop to think of it, more people are better off than they have ever been in the history of humanity, and more people have greater freedom than they have ever had in the history of humanity, worldwide. You are trying to deprive people of further opportunities for advancement and availing themselves of the liberties that have been hard fought for over the generations and for centuries. You would like to describe as cyberbullying what is often truth-telling, but you don't have any compunction about supporting the Sussex squad who have systematically lied and abused the King, the Queen, the late Queen, the Prince and Princess of Wales. I'm sorry. Do you mean you want Archie and Lily to grow up to be members of the Sussex squad? Is that what you're saying? Because that's the natural meaning of the words that you have used. Do you want them to follow your example? Because if you are setting yourself up as an arbiter, you presumably have the knowledge, because you want the power, so you must have the knowledge to implement your sensorial attitudes. Are you going to bring up Archie and Lily to lie about their family the way you have lied about yours, and the way you have lied about your family is the in-laws? Are you going to set them up so that they will betray you and Harry the way you have betrayed your father, your sister, your brother, your father-in-law, and your sister-in-law, and Harry has betrayed his father, his stepmother, his brother, his sister-in-law, and both of you have betrayed the British people and the hospitality that we gave you and the welcome we gave you. Very interesting. I'm going to read out their announcement, because their announcement was as part of their tour of Colombia. The Duke and Duchess will be exploring and championing various social justice causes in the country. One of those causes is highlighting online hate speech, with Meghan Markle speaking to a crowd about her experiences. Yes, she has lots of experience of hate speech. We only need to listen to what she has said, what Amit Scabies has said, what the Guppy has said. accusing your father-in-law and your sister-in-law of racism, for starters. And Harry has asserted that information integrity is a fundamental right. First of all, it's not a fundamental right. You obviously don't know the difference between rights and aspirations. It's not a right. It's an aspiration. And integrity of what? Because integrity is a word that simply means something that is cohesive, that is, you can have integrity as an evil person and you maintain that evil integrity, and therefore you possess the integrity of an evil person, the consistency of an evil person. But information integrity also has no meaning. It doesn't actually mean anything, because integrity is something that we possess. Information can't have integrity. I'm going to quote what they said. With the Archewell Foundation, me and my wife. Can you believe it? Me and my wife, Harry. My wife and I. Your wife goes first. Everybody goes first and you go second. It's called good manners. Good English requires you to use the nominative, not the accusative. I know you couldn't pass anything but worms at Eton, so clearly you didn't listen to anything that you learned in Latin. But I is nominative, me is accusative. One is the subject of the sentence, the other is the object of the sentence. You cannot be me and my wife. And it's also very poor form to put yourself first. Of course, you're learning from an absolute past mistress of the art of pushing herself first. But anyway, let me continue. Me and my wife believe that information integrity is a fundamental right. We should model how we want our kids to be raised and for the world in which we raise them. Pathetic. Just pathetic. A prince of the United Kingdom can't even speak English. Harry and Meghan, I'm going to give you a few home truths. You can't protect your children against evil, nor should you actually be setting them an example that is destructive. If you want to protect your children against evil, you deprive them of the opportunity to live a full life and to experience life in all of its wonderful complexities. Nobody is saying that you should expose your children to evil, but you cannot protect them against evil. Evil is a part of life. You are both functioning in ways that I would regard as evil, and many other people would regard as evil. Your grandmother, according to a journalist in The Spectator, called your wife evil. I know as a fact that your grandmother said that your wife was a wicked, wicked girl. That's tantamount to evil. So the both of you, you better hand those children over to other people if you are so nervous of protecting them against evil, because you're protecting them against your influence. But putting that aside, and let's say that you were perfectly positive human beings that weren't destructive and weren't malicious and weren't mendacious and weren't self-aggrandizing, hustling opportunists, but that you were actually worthy human beings. You still can't protect your children against evil. A good parent protects his or her children by giving their child the tools with which to cope with life, with both the good and the bad. Good is a part of life, and so is bad. You can't have one without the other. You can't protect your children against life. I can well understand why you and Meghan are so desperate to protect your children against knowledge. I can understand that. But knowledge is not the same as evil. In fact, knowledge liberates you. It's a pity neither of you understands that, because neither of you, in my opinion, has a sufficiently spiritual approach to life to actually be able to hand on any wisdom to your children. Yet you are both setting yourselves up as arbiters of what the populace of this world can and can't have access to. Beyond belief. You talk about delusional. You talk about insanity. The both of you are barking mad. Barking. V. Log Ginana says, they are on a mission to replace William and Catherine. It's very obvious and sick and dangerous. They won't. You're absolutely right in many ways. Meghan is extremely competitive. Harry was not really competitive before Meghan. He was vain. He was desiring of more attention than he deserved, but he really wasn't the monstrous creature that he has become under her influence. She has to be on. She is dangerous. I think you're right. I agree with you. I think it's sick. I think they are sick, and I think they are dangerous. Her determination has been to supplant William and Catherine as the premier royal couple in the world. She tried to do it in Britain, and she was stopped by the late Queen and the way the monarchy functions. So they decamped and went to America to pitch their tent in a new horizon and in a new terrain. That's what they've done. She said she intended to modernize the monarchy. Well, she has been implementing her interpretation of what a modern royal couple who are hoping to become the premier royal couple in the world, having knocked William and Catherine out of the running and everybody else. So what do we have visibly as the proof of the changes that she really wished to implement? The first one was that she would always be the star of the show. And you notice that she has made sure that she is the star of every show. They go to Whistler, she's the star of the show. They go to Dusseldorf, she's the star of the show. They're in Colombia, she's the star of the show. Who is sitting beside Francia Marquez? Not Harry. It should be Harry. Harry's the born royal. It should be Harry, but it's not. It's Meghan. Meghan is more important than Harry. Of course, she's piggybacking on Harry's royal status to boost herself. So, what does modernising the monarchy mean? That she's number one and that she has opportunities to make as much money as she possibly can, and that her vanity is ratified at all times with the approbation that she requires. So a royal on a proper tour would arrive and wear one outfit for the whole of the day. They would then go back and change at the end of the day, D-A-Y, daylight, into something else for the evening. So they would have day wear, then they would have evening wear. They would not be changing costume as if they are in a chorus line in some cabaret, sleazy cabaret, changing costume every time there's a new number playing, which is what she has done. The first day on Thursday when they arrived, she had 3 changes of costume. She arrived in the black or navy blue, whatever it was, trouser outfit. Then she changed into that totally inappropriate dress with the slit. Well, everybody, you need to know what I have to offer. Hint, hint. Roses are red, grass is green. You like my legs. And what's the rest of that childhood ditty? I've forgotten. However, before we go into anything about what's in between anything else, let me point out that the dress also had a cutout below her bosom. Meghan, one of the rules of ladylike attire is that you never, in a formal or official capacity, ever dress in a sexually provocative way. Meghan is always dressing in a sexually provocative way. Even when she was in the British royal family, she would wear cocktail attire during the day. She wore a black boat neckline dress to a service, a church service at St. Paul's Cathedral. I mean, crass to the nth degree. Yes, we understand, Meghan, that you have a lot to advertise, and we understand that your gifts have taken you far and wide. But you don't have to show us what you have to offer. We're not really interested. So that was crass. Outfit number 2, the dress, the maxi dress. And then she had, oh, but before that, I need to quote something that an idiot said, because one of the reporters said that the outfit accentuates Meghan's elegance and oozes pure class. Well, it certainly accentuated her, what she has going for her, that she has used to climb up the ladder, vertically up the ladder. Yes, it certainly does that. But elegance, there's nothing elegant about wearing anything that's provocative on an official visit. And as for it oozing pure class, all I can say is, Patrick Hill, if you think that's class, you certainly have none. I'm not sure that you actually did have any when you would have, in fact, said it oozes pure class. It oozes pure lack of taste, is what it oozes. And then she wore that silk brown combination with the long-sleeved shirt, and then the palazzo pants, and then yet another colour brown, but all in the brown family. But that was more yellow ochre. It just didn't go. Sorry. But then, I suppose, to Patrick Hill, that oozed class as well. And also, the trousers had an elasticized waistline, which she didn't even have the blouse, which could have been made into a blouson, which would have concealed that. Oh no, she had to show the elasticated waistline. Meghan, one does not show elasticated anything. But I know you're very elastic, and I'm sure you show it, but preferably not in public. XXX says, Lady, ex-founder Musk has come under intense criticism for misinformation on his platform. The world's richest man has fallen victim to sharing a fake story about Sir Keir Starmer looking at detainment camps for rioters. What do you make of this? Well, first of all, I would say that this is being exaggerated. There is nothing wrong in somebody making an honest mistake. And although he certainly got the detail wrong, he did not actually get the tenor of the situation wrong. Because Sir Keir Starmer has clamped down and has charged as many rioters as he can, detained them. Many of them are now on remand. So they're not detainment camps, they're prisons that they've been chucked into. All within the blink of an eyelid. All with a speed that would make Meghan running towards diamonds look slow. What do I make of it? I make of it that he got the detail wrong. He didn't get the gist of it wrong. That's what I make of it. I also make of the fact that it's very, very injudicious to leap in. You know, there's an expression, fools rush in where wise men fear to tread. Now, I think Elon Musk needs to be careful not to be too precipitate. I certainly understand some of his motivation, but he will do his reputation harm as opposed to good if he is too precipitate. Having said that, nobody condemns any of the newspapers when they get facts wrong that suit Keir Starmer, Harry and Meghan. On a daily basis, the newspapers are full of misinformation that is to their advantage. Is anybody decrying that? Funny, why not? Laurie says, what? They have a chief of staff, director of communications, and a deputy press secretary. Those three positions exist in the White House, the federal government. These are government job titles, not corporate job titles. Unreal. So pompous. Does she think she's the president now too? Well, that's her aspiration. When I wrote it in my first book on them, or the original version, Meghan and Harry, the real story, I was savaged by a gutter press journalist called Duncan Lawscombe, I think is his name. Turns out I was right, doesn't it? But in the meantime, they have set themselves up as a rival royal court in the United States of America. Their aim is to be acknowledged as equally valid to William and Catherine. That when William and Catherine say something that is cleared by the palace and the government, because remember, William and Catherine have official functions, and they don't shoot from the hip. Harry and Meghan not only shoot from the hip, they shoot from the orifice upon which I am sitting. Yes, pompous. She knows she's royalty. And if she can convert that into being president of the United States of America, let's wait and see, because if she ever became president, I can tell you something, you would never get rid of her. Niobe says, the Harkles care only for themselves, yet they demand to be looked up to as saviours of society. They viciously abuse staff and family members, including relatives who are very ill or even dying, and tell everyone they're humanitarians. This makes most people angry and disgusted with them. You're absolutely right. I have read it out because it's true and it's appropriate. It's very measured and it is a fact. It's also, may I say, not only a fact, it is pathetic that they would think that they could behave like that and pull the wool over everybody's eyes. Carol Bryden says, at least now the Spencer side of the family are seeing the true Henry. Guess he can't make any money out of attending the funeral of his auntie's husband. Lord Fellows was a much respected friend and worker for our late Queen and deserves respect. This is not a word in Henry's vocabulary, as we all know. Guess his latest mummy wouldn't let him go, so she pulled on his restraining collar. I love it. Interesting how these fake tours coincide with the time when the real royal family are on their break. Money, drugs, butt lift, boob jobs, and of course, seeking emeralds are all on the shopping list for them. Neither of them are role models for the younger generation. Yes, well, may I make a point? My understanding is that everybody is absolutely delighted that Harry isn't coming. William doesn't want to be on the same continent as Harry. I think, given a chance, William wouldn't want to be on the same planet as Harry. The Spencers will prefer William to Harry. It's natural. They spent 250 years maneuvering to have an official position within and an official alliance with the royal family. The first Duchess of Marlborough, Sarah Churchill, she organized for her granddaughter, Lady Diana Spencer, to marry the Prince of Wales of the day. His name was Frederick. And William Pitt kiboshed the idea. He was the Prime Minister. They had various unofficial alliances within the royal family as mistresses, etc. And then they managed to swing it with Diana. Don't think it was totally accidental, because it wasn't. And I'm going to leave it with that just by saying, nowadays it's either William or Harry. It can't be both. Who do you think sane, sensible people with their head well screwed on will be choosing? And we're going to end with what Sandy Schneider says. When will the US wake up and people stop working for, promoting and paying for this delusional, abusive duo? It's not going to happen. I'll tell you why. As is being demonstrated by the cut and paste job that is being done as a result of Bianca Betancourt functioning as if she were a member of the Rota, and that she is the pool reporter. The Mail, for instance, literally cuts and pastes how beautiful Meghan looks, how warmly received she was, all done through Archewell. Not one bit of news from that visit, because it's not a tour, it's a visit, is done independently. It's all tightly controlled through Archewell by Meghan, not even Meghan and Harry, Meghan. It suits Harper's Bazaar. Why have they allowed their culture editor to go? Because it suits them. Why is People magazine picking up word for word what has been said? Because it suits them. Why is Vanity Fair picking up word for word, and Town and Country? because it suits them. Why in Britain do we have the Mail and the Mirror and the Express, etc.? Because it suits them. They make money. Of course, if Harry and Meghan had their way, everything would be censored. So we'd get a daily data of how wonderful they are. We'd never get news of any description that was accurate. We would still not know who had attacked anybody at Southport, because it would have been somebody that they wished to have the identity suppressed. And we would be fed pap. Well, I tell you, the one good thing is the choice would be so limited that everybody would start to read old books, because nobody would be reading new books. Because once they done the internet, they would be trying to censor books as well. And they wouldn't be worth reading. But in the meantime, we have a free internet, virtually free. It has constraints, but it is by and large free. And we need to protect it. And we need to protect it against malevolent censors like those frauds, Harry and Meghan, those hypocrites. How dare they set themselves as arbiters of what you and I should have access to, when they and their supporters are the biggest online bullies at the moment. The whole thing is beyond farcical. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like me to address on your behalf. Thank you so much. Godspeed. And if you have enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care. Bye-bye.